There's a reason Andor feels different from almost every other sci-fi series. What looks like an enormous digital build was in many cases actually there, a physical set. The towns, the street, the interiors, and even the coffee machines. Set decorator Rebecca Alleway told me just how far they went to make Andor real.
Very, very little was visual effects. Visual effects were top ups, flying ships, and they did an amazing job, and they're a fantastic team. But Luke wanted to build everything, and he did. And this was such an impressive set.
Oh my gosh,
I
yes.
mean, there's no, no CGI in sight. We were literally took over most of Pinewood, all the back lots. Then we had on Cross, where we did obviously the Rebel base, massive.
I can't. It's like I
You
can't.
can't even remember. You can't even. Yeah, we did the massive Rebel base. I mean, it was massive. We did more than they did on Rogue One because we went outside and we had to do We did massive Rebel base. I mean, it was really, and we had to do that. We did all Cassian's world that you see that you saw in the picture. That was yeah. Anyway, we went. We were all in so many studios.
Right.
We were everywhere. And this was on the Pinewood backlot. I'd say 85% was I mood board, I concept. I had five concept artists just in set deck, huge amounts. I think in season two, set deck alone produced over 500 drawings. Yeah. And that's 500 drawings we had to concept, draw, and then manufacture. And that's not including just the purchases and adaptation. So everything else, my buying team then purchased and adapted. So everything was painted, adapted, or designed. Everything. There was not one prop or piece of dressing in the whole of Andor that was just, oh yeah, let's get that off the shelf and put it in. Everything was graphic, painted, or designed. Everything. Lucasfilm says they have an amazing archive as well. So it's all accessible. So I continually cross-reference and go back. And that's also, I think, the amazing thing is that it's that a lot of stuff we designed from scratch,
Yeah.
but also we're paying homage to shapes and designs, even if we're not using something physically that was used before. So, yeah, very much tried to design something fresh with Luke, but respectfully stay within the parameters of Star Wars and hope it's still that hope that Andor 1 and Andor 2 feel something new and refreshing, but Star Wars.
This is where the scale of Andor becomes almost less interesting than the detail. Building an entire street is impressive, but what makes us believe that that street is a real place is everything inside it and around it. The chairs, the palette, the light fixtures, and again, the coffee machines. Nothing can accidentally look like it came from Earth in 2026. Every object has to belong to Star Wars. The Easter egg in a Star Wars film is huge.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, and it'll be appreciated.
yeah, oh yeah.
Things like, yeah, I mean, things that, we put, there's something called an evil barrel that is kind of like a dustbin turned upside down and painted that was in the Empire and was used throughout Star Wars. And, this, the fans are going to know what they are. And so, I put those in the hangar in the,
Mm,
the first set we did when Cassian stole the TIE
so
fighter, so I put those really iconic shapes back into that. But then really subtle Easter eggs as well, whether it's shapes or reusing something or changing it, or for the ships, when we did Luthen's ship, I know that back in the day they used orange squeezers and sprayed them up and made them into light. So we did lemon squeezers, and everything was
right.
like, everything was always rifting back to what Star Wars is. Everything in there was made.
Oh
Everything
yeah.
in there was
Look at this.
made,
That's so cool.
and this, I mean, what's funny is this is kind of like all the coffee machines, like I'd take a shape of a really old style of something and then we'd add pipes and it kind of felt like a kind of weird cat, they call it calf in Star Wars, I think. Tony did anyway, like a really mad old coffee machine, but it kind of also is meant to feel Star Wars. So you kind of recognize it, but it feels Star Wars. So you
Yeah.
recognize it as a something in the real world, but it kind of has a Star Wars twist to it.
Yeah, it almost
That's
looks like an
that.
android.
Right.
I mean, really, it could be like a little android sitting there.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. But even though we know, though, that's what it's meant to be, you know what I mean? It's still, so yeah, it was really important down to every plate, coffee machine, chair, table, console, bed, kitchen, counter, pan, that everything was well considered. Everything had to have a certain shape that felt Star Wars, a certain shape that embodied that world, and a certain color or texture. So, I mean, it was all style to an inch of its life. Every set, every set. I think that it's only now in season two that people are realizing, oh my God, they actually, both in season one and in season two, they built all these sets. There were composite sets, they were massive sets. We built towns, we built, everything.
Oh yeah,
And
those streets. I mean, obviously, I don't even know what your set count could have been per episode. I mean, it had to be like
hundreds,
hundreds.
hundreds,
It's
yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
hundreds, hundreds. And they were all built. There wasn't anything, we didn't ever stick people in front of a blue screen. Everything was built and everything, so I think that now people are realizing that. But I think in season one, unless you've worked on a job and you really understand design and filmmaking, I think it's very hard. And also good visual effects and good design. You shouldn't understand how
right.
you if yeah, you should no one, unless you worked on it, it should be seamless. So I think there was a preconception that a lot of it was visual effects on the first one, and it wasn't. 90% was designed. And I think now people are realizing because they can see
Yeah.
that 90% of this was designed, and now they're realizing and season one was too.
Do
And
you?
that was a massive feat.
And maybe that's the greatest trick of Andor's design. They built an extraordinary amount of it so well that we assumed that it hadn't been built at all.